there is a bit where Cypher says, like, oh, wow, your jaw is so distinctive. I didn't think the Toretto bloodline had Nordic in it. And at that point, I was like, hey, is Cypher a neo-Nazi? What the fuck? Because it's such a wild thing to say.
Actually, I do think Cypher maybe got onto leftist Twitter, maybe had a little reckoning, because she did get rid of her dreads.
Yes, she does, thankfully. No, she got canceled and really did some reflection. Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm definitely real silver and therefore not magnetic.
And this week, we hit the final frontier of the Fast franchise with F9. Before we work through a lot of dad issues, remember you can help us on Mortified the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter and Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Aaron.
We've done it.
We did it!
Our year-long project to finish the Fast and Furious franchise has come to a conclusion.
All 10 movies!
Honestly, pretty good. For a franchise that's been going for 10 movies, they have a pretty good hit rate.
Pretty good fucking hit. There are only a couple where we were like, this was fine.
Yeah, listen, I think they all suffer from the second act drag. I think they probably all could be cut back by about half an hour, but listen, you just need time to introduce all your cameos.
Yeah, you truly do. I thought this one dragged the least out of all of them.
Definitely less than 8, definitely less than 6. It was pretty good paced, pretty well paced.
Yeah. I mean, you want to get into it? It's a doozy.
It is. There's a lot of plot here. So once upon a time in 1989, Jack Toretto, father of Dom Toretto, is racing around a track, and his sons Dom and Jacob are there helping him, his pit crew, but he is unfortunately killed in a big fiery explosion. And the guy who caused it, essentially, Dom murders with a wrench, and that's how he gets, put in prison. But anyway, cut to 2019, which is 2 years after Fast 8, after Cypher disappears, and we see Dom and Letty in like a little farmhouse raising Brian, aka Little Brian, their kid. Their kid, but also it's the son of Dom and Elena, I believe is her name, who was killed by Cypher in Fast 8. Tej, Roman, and Ramsey all show up, and they're like, hey, Cypher got abducted from Mr. Nobody's hijacked and crashed airplane. Mr. Nobody being the Shadow Organization guy from Fast 7. I think that's his first appearance. I don't know why he had Cypher in an airplane. I don't know why they didn't just put her in a regular prison cell, but whatever. So at first Dom doesn't want to help, but Letty does. But then when Dom is reviewing the footage, he sees in the grainy camera footage that Mr. Nobody sent them a cross just like his, and he's like, oh, this means something. Basically, they go to the crashed plane, and they find out that inside the crash plane is half of a green orb, which is the key to codename Project Ares.
And the presence of orbs now in this franchise does officially make it a science fiction.
Yeah, no, listen, we were already well into science fiction with the physics bending in the last couple films, but now it is just straight up like, here's the MacGuffin, it is magic. It's science magic.
Orbs are the hallmark of a good science fiction. If your science fiction does not have an orb, you're doing it wrong.
Well, as we've also alluded to in the intro, there is another important facet of science fiction that happens in this film, which we'll get to. Basically, they are trying to get this orb out, but they're ambushed not only by the Guatemalan military, but also by... You can't see him. It's John Cena playing Jacob as Dom Toretto's long-lost brother. He steals the first half of the orb for them. They have to retreat to a hideout where Mia Toretto shows up, and she's like, I've got to help my brother that I've, for some reason, also never mentioned before. We have to save him, Dom. So she and Letty go to Tokyo because they are trying to track down Han Lue, the, star, essentially, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Now, you might think, Aaron, he wasn't the protagonist. That doesn't matter. He is the star of Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, and we miss him very much. But that's not a problem, because he's back. He's alive. They find him and a young woman that he is essentially adopted in Tokyo. She was the daughter of the scientists who created Project Ares, and because the project is biometrically coded, it's her DNA that unlocks it, which is very funny. Anyway, she's been trained in martial arts by Han, and they have a cool fight in his apartment. Anyway,
that reveal of Han with the fucking sniper rifle is
so
one of the
good.
best reveals in cinema. It's so fucking good.
The light is like flashing, and like you can't see his face until like it zooms all the way in and like reveals from behind the barrel of the rifle. You see this older looking Han, and it's just like, oh my god, I didn't realize how much I missed you. You look great.
He looks great. Michelle Rodriguez looks fine as hell in this film again. It truly gifts for the eyeballs.
It's really good. Dom hangs out with Queenie Shaw for a bit, which is one of my favorite sequences in the movie because she's just like doing a heist for no reason. She's just like, there's like some sort of diamond jewelry.
She wanted the necklace. For some reason.
She's just like a kleptomaniac, right? She just wanted to steal something. And then Dom pulls up and he's like, hey, are you stealing something? And she's like, yeah. Are you going to help me? And he's like, well, my thieving days are over. And she's like, fucking move over. Mine aren't. But then she delivers him to Jacob because he had been in contact with her. And basically they have an argument. They have a confrontation where Jacob, Dom is like, Jacob, you killed our dad because you sabotaged the car that day. Made it so he couldn't get out of the way of the guy who ran into him. And Jacob's like, I don't give a shit about you. But actually he very much does. Jacob's whole character arc is just like being in the shadow of his brother, and never getting the same recognition of him. So like that's actually very fun, and I love that for John Cena. He has Interpol come and arrest Dom, but it's not Interpol, it's just Cardi B and her team of assassins. Her
team of hot lady assassins.
Yeah, it fucking rules. I want an entire spin-off franchise of them. I want them to show up in Hobbs and Shaw and Han. It's gonna be great. Tej and Roman go and meet with people that we actually saw last in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift as well, including the protagonist of Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, who now is just like a guy who's making rockets and just doing I don't know what he's doing there, but he's helping them build rocket cars. It's very funny, and I didn't realize it was him until the very, very end when he goes and like gives Han a huge hug.
I didn't realize. I've seen this movie twice, and I didn't realize it was him until I saw your notes.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, I can't believe they got him back. That rules. Anyway, that rocket car will come up later. After that, they all go to Edinburgh.
Chekhov's fucking rocket car.
Yeah, seriously. Tej, Roman, Dom, and Ramsey all go to Edinburgh, where they find the second half of the orb. They do this big chase through the streets of Edinburgh. There's a really, really funny bit where Ramsey reveals she does not know how to drive. And they make her drive this huge truck with an electromagnet in it through the streets of Edinburgh. And there's also like a fight going on in the back of the truck where Tej and Roman are fighting some goons. And like the electromagnet gets periodically turned on and off to like stick them to the wall in various bits. And in the end, Ramsey ends up ramping up the electromagnet very high, so Jacob is about to escape with his half of the orb, but then Ramsey's electromagnet pulls him through several shopping buildings and into their truck, and that's really good, I think. And then they capture Jacob. They put him in what appears to be some sort of missile silo. I'm not sure where they lock it. It's like at the end of Antigone where she's buried alive. That's kind of what happens to Jacob. They entomb him in this weird stone prison where he can kind of like look out and see that like Dom has built a family and he doesn't have a family, and he's very sad about that. But then also it turns out, and here's where the plot gets even more convoluted, Jacob was a rogue agent. He used to work for Mr. Nobody, but then he turned against them. So Mr. Nobody arranged for Deckard Shaw to kill Han, but they actually faked Han's death, which is why he didn't get immediately burned up when his car that he was climbing under did explode very much. Which makes me think that, I mean, also that's what happened to Michelle Rodriguez, right? So I think that everybody, there's also a whole side segment where Roman starts to realize that he's immortal, which might be my favorite beat of the movie. I think that, yeah, I think we are really truly getting into science fiction, science fantasy at this point, because of like people recognizing their own heroic status. But yeah, it seems like if you are trapped under a burning car that then explodes, you're actually probably fine in this universe. You might get amnesia, but that's irrelevant. We'll get to that later.
It's like dying in Dragon Ball Z.
Correct, right? You can just wish you back with the power of a glowing orb.
Orb.
And it's revealed that the reason that Jacob turned against Dom is because, well, one, Dom like had a big race and told him to, you know, he told Dom or Jacob that he killed their dad and he wants him to never come back. But also, Jacob was told to do this sabotage so that way the car would slow down, they would lose the race, and then that would help with all the debts that Dom had racked up I don't know what that was. It doesn't make any goddamn sense, but basically it's like, you know, Jacob was doing it because their dad told him to, and Dom was like, well, if you were a good son, you wouldn't have listened. Anyway, Jacob escapes with all the necessary components of Project Ares, including Elle, the girl that has the biometric code. They have a final standoff where they're I also haven't mentioned, because they're not that important until the end, Jacob is working with a dictator's son named Otto, who has been like basically been providing weapons and support for Jacob's spy missions this whole time. So Otto is convinced by Cypher, who they have in a weird plastic prison, kind of like the one that Loki is kept in the first Avengers film. It makes me think that they think she's an alien of some sort. It's really good. Or like Magneto, right? In one of the second X-Men movies, they keep her in a Magneto prison because they're afraid she'll use too much metal and turn it into spikes or whatever. Anyway, she convinces Otto to cut Jacob out of their deal. You know, he sends a very large man with great teeth to go kick Jacob's ass.
Well, they have great dental.
They have great dental. Incredible line. Basically, Jacob joins the team. They take down this armored truck, but the armored truck was uploading the data for Project Ares to a satellite, and they don't know how to defeat the satellite, except they have to use the rocket car that the guys from Tokyo Drift built. They have to put the rocket car on top of an airplane, put Roman and Tej in diving suits from like the 1920s, and they shoot that rocket car into space. And then Roman and Tej shoot that car into the satellite. They destroy it by driving their car into the satellite. Which saves the day. They are eventually rescued, of course, by the crew of the International Space Station.
Shout out to the French astronaut who did ask, why do they look like minions?
Such a fucking good joke. Anyway, Jacob reconciles with Dom. I'm not sure if Cypher gets killed in the end.
She does not.
Okay.
So they flip this big truck. Vin Diesel flips this big truck so that when they're driving around a cliff, the plane that Cypher is piloting gets smacked out of the air by this truck. There's a big explosion, and then it cuts to her having been piloting it remotely. So she's flying the plane sky.
I see. I did not catch that. It looked like she was... They make it seem like she is piloting it actually for the whole time, which is very weird, but whatever. Anyway, she's still a threat. But, everybody has a meal together. Little Brian gets to say grace. And then at the very end, the Brian, like, what is his last name?
O'Connor.
O'Connor, yes. Brian O'Connor's car pulls up into the driveway.
Oh, I teared up. I got emotional when that happened.
It's kind of nice. And then there's a post-credit scene where Shaw is like punching a punching bag with a man inside it. And then Han shows up at his door, which makes me think that Han is going to be a big part of Hobbs and Shaw 2, which will be very fun. Can't wait to see Han hang out with The Rock.
Oh my god. I cannot wait. So Fast and Furious X 10 comes out next May, just so you know, May 23rd.
Oh my god, that's so soon.
I also need you to know Justin Lin is not directing it.
No, again, Justin Lin directed this one, but like I don't think he directed Fast 8 because of various reasons, but like it seemed like he had some sort of fight with Vin Diesel this time around. Oh. So yeah, unfortunately, Justin Lin will not be in Fast 10, which, Justin Lin makes these movies good. I think he's a very good director.
He's producing Fast 10, but he's not not directing it. I'm not sure who the replacement director is, but I was reading that while I was Googling something. But I think you and I should do what we're about to do with a different flick. And I think we should get together and go see it on the biggest screen we can find.
Yes, 100%. We should do that. So I'll be able to take vacation at that point. So
crazy. Come see me.
Maybe we'll come hang out with you.
Yeah, come see me. That's foreshadowing for our first episode of the year.
Yeah, Christ alive. Let's run through our characters once more. How'd you feel about Dom?
He's here.
He really is here. His character doesn't change a whole lot. That's kind of what his role is. I liked seeing him as a dad. I liked Dad Dom a lot, just like seeing him hang out with little Brian.
I like Dad Dom a lot. I also like whoever they got to hire, or whoever they hired to play young Dom. He looks nothing like young Vin Diesel, but he is fine as hell.
No, listen, young Vin Diesel, whoever that guy was, looks like he is a completely different race, firstly. Which, I was looking that up and I was like, oh, Vin Diesel was actually raised by an adopted black father and his biological mother, which is an interesting fact about Vin Diesel I didn't know. I don't think Vin Diesel himself is biracial, but, it's kind of a nice thing that happened with Vin Diesel's family.
He looks racially ambiguous a little bit, like in the same way that I do, where like you look at him and you go,
Anyway, I think the conflict is a little bit convoluted, but like who gives a shit? Nobody cares. Nobody comes to these films for plot, except for us, I guess. But yeah, no, I think he's fine.
Our girl, Letty Ortiz, Michelle Rodriguez, looked so good in this fucking movie. My queen.
Yeah. I mean, the first shot, she comes out in like overalls and like a tank top, and I was just like, you can't. It's so early in this film. You cannot.
So early.
Yeah.
That's my ass shaking shot. The real ass shaking shots are for other people. Michelle Rodriguez in tank tops is for me.
Correct. Again, there's not a whole lot of like character development here, right? when Dom's like, why are we fucking going on another stupid mission? She's like, it's not us to not go on a mission. It's what we do. And like, that's kind of, that's all her motivation is, which is, I think very silly because they have a kid, but whatever.
I think it's a little bonkers that she's playing with little Brian at the end, and out of nowhere, she's like, oh, you see this spot on the driveway? This is where I met your mom the first time. She's looking down at you from heaven.
From heaven.
No segue, no context. They weren't even talking about his mom. She just, said that.
It's a little weird. I do like that they are continually trying to work in the fact that, Letty is well aware that little Brian is not biologically her kid, but also she wants to both introduce that fact to little Brian and also be like, you had two moms, we both love you. I think that's kind of an interesting way to portray this whole film's conception of family, right? But, it is also just kind of a wild non sequitur.
It's really bonkers.
This kid's 2, he doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Cute kid, by the way.
He's adorable. He's very, very cute.
Cute-ass little kid to play that little boy.
There is one bit between Letty and Mia where they are just, kind of talking about how things have been. which like I don't know that the conversation is especially good, but basically it's just like Mia checking in with Letty and being like, "How are you, girl? It seems like things have been a little weird."
I like that scene a lot. I also like that. So they get ramen. They're in Tokyo when they're having this conversation. They get ramen, and I like that because you can't eat ramen on camera unless you're Naruto. It's a messy process. There's no delicate way to eat ramen.
No.
You gotta slurp, and then the slurp is usually,
All over your face, yeah.
all over. It's a whole So they're just sitting there like messing with their chopsticks in the ramen bowls, like kind of picking up a little bit of noodle but then putting it down and like moving a vegetable from one side of the bowl to the other. I loved it. I was like, excellent chopstick acting, ladies.
Very good. Very good. What do you think about the crew?
I mean, Tyrese and Ludacris just get funnier is the problem.
Like, that's the thing. You'd think by like 10 movies I'd be a little tired of their shtick, but like it's still pretty good. It still works.
So fucking funny is the problem.
Like they're always like trying to compete for Ramsey's attention, who she is constantly just like, you guys are a bunch of fucking idiots, because they are mostly concerned with just like beefing with each other.
And it's like, it doesn't, we talk a lot about like homosexual and like undertones. It doesn't read like that at all. It just reads like two dudes beefing with each other.
Yeah, no, this is not at all like erotically charged. It is really just like two guys that are hanging out and like talking shit constantly. Like they're always making fun of how Tyrese, or Roman, sorry. Tyrese is his real name. Roman is...
I mean, I call them by their real names.
Yeah.
It's easier.
But Roman is, like, constantly eating. Like, even in the spaceship, there's a bunch of, like, candy wrappers floating around. Or, like, they turn on the electromagnet when he's about to, like, take a piece of cake or something. And it just, like, throws everything into the wall. And he's like, what the fuck, man? And both Ramsey and Tej are laughing at him. And then, like... there's a really good bit when they are running through the minefield, right? Where this is where Roman starts to develop the belief that he's immortal. Because like he gets he is driving this huge armored car which isn't fast enough to escape the mines. So like he gets blasted up into this rock crevice between these two like rocks, and then he like falls out of the vehicle right in front of a landmine. And then he, is able to escape. No, he gets up, walks away, then the car comes down, explodes, goes back up, and it looks like it crushes him for a second, but then he steps out behind it and is kind of like stumbling and muttering. And Tej is like, how the hell are you not dead, man? He's just like, not gonna talk about it. Just stumbles away. They're so funny. They're great.
They're so fucking funny. I love them very, very much. Ramsey not being able to drive, as you said, also one of the funniest parts of the whole fucking movie.
So good.
Mia's here.
I'm glad that she's back. I wish they had given her anything to do, but
yeah, she hugged John Cena.
That's true. That was a big moment.
That was a big moment. She looks great. Her highlights look great. Happy she's here, even though, rip Paul Walker. Rip to a great. I like that they include her, even though like the male love interest she's attached to is no longer in these films.
Yeah, I mean, like, right, that's family. And it would kind of betray the entire ethos of the films to write her out.
Yeah. Han's back. He looks fine as hell. He's got an adopted daughter. It is like one of the best scenes of like in the whole city of Tokyo, not a small city. Letty and Mia happen to find the Mexican flag hanging in an alleyway apartment while they're getting ramen. And they're like, Han always said that Tokyo was like his Mexico. And that's how they're like, this random apartment with a Mexican flag must be Han's. And then one of the sickest fight scenes in the world, because his little adopted daughter, Elle, well, she's like 20. His adopted daughter, Elle, comes out and just whoops a bunch of ass with these women. And then Letty throws herself out a window and Han snipes all the people surrounding her. One of my favorite action, like a smaller one, but one of my favorite hand-to-hand combat scenes.
I think it was really good. I am glad they didn't give the Asian woman a sword, but I also kind of wanted her. It doesn't have to be a katana, but I did kind of want her to have some sort of sword or a bladed weapon. But she does have this like cool baton, which she's beating ass with.
Her costume costume really does scream Kill Bill a little bit, so.
Yeah, but it's it's fine. This franchise has earned a lot of goodwill for me vis-a-vis like racial depictions because it's so genuinely diverse in a good way.
Oh my god, that's a cameo I want for Fast 10 and or 11 and or Hobbs and Shaw. Give me either Michelle Yeoh or Lucy Liu.
That would be the thing is that you can't have them. I would be so upset if they let harm come to those women, though. Like, I'd be like, you can't do that to our queens.
That's true, but consider how good they would be in these movies.
If you give either of those women, a spear or a sword or some sort of hand-to-hand combat weapon, I would love to see them just, like, own various men. I want to see The Rock get owned by Michelle Yeoh, please.
Oh, please. The Rock is not in this one, but you know who is?
John Cena.
John fucking Cena's in this one.
The only mountain of a man that could come close to that level of bulk.
There really is a shot of him and Vin Diesel standing next to each other, and I was just looking at it on my screen, and I was like, those are some thick men. They're just like
very much
thick.
Armstrong shaking hands with the other guy from Fullmetal Alchemist energy between those two. Just like the muscliest dudes in the world. So here's the thing that, like, I feel like if you only know John Cena from wrestling, you might not know is that John Cena is actually kind of a good actor.
No, he fucking brought it.
I think he's a certainly more energy, emotional weight to his performance than Vin Diesel. No offense, Vin Diesel. But, like, he was, like, saying some real cornball shit with a straight face and, like, gravity to his words. You've got to respect that.
He does a lot of, like, lower eyelid and jaw acting that I find very compelling.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of, like, subtle squinting.
There is a bit where Cypher says, like, oh, wow, your jaw is so distinctive. I didn't think the Toretto bloodline had Nordic in it. And at that point, I was like, hey, is Cypher a neo-Nazi? What the fuck? Because it's such a wild thing to say.
Actually, I do think Cypher maybe got onto leftist Twitter, maybe had a little reckoning, because she did get rid of her dreads.
Yes, she does, thankfully. No, she got canceled and really did some reflection.
Yeah, she has a very fun, like, somewhere between a pixie and a page boy, which, I mean, like, listen, I've seen Miss Throne in a lot of films. Never a bad hairstyle on that woman.
No, she pulls it off. She's great.
She's beautiful. Like, she's so high. It's just a lot. There's just a lot of hot people in this movie. It's great.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, I do think that John Cena probably gives the best performance of anyone in this film. Like, I believe his performance when he's talking about how, like, he was the son that was always trying to get out of Dom's shadow. Like, I think that's pretty believable, even though, the dialogue is all a little bit, self-important, but, like, he does a good job, and he takes it he's not, overdoing it at all. Like, he is delivering the performance, and I hope he comes back.
I feel like on a franchise like this, I feel like it is impossible to do, like, if this wasn't the 10th movie in the franchise, and if this wasn't, like, such a well-established thing where, like, people could picture the, like, unhinged set pieces and, like, all the action sequences, and, like, people know what a Fast and Furious movie looks like. If you put this movie, clean table read, this is the first movie in like, a new IP, you cannot do a table read of this script without a storyboard of the set pieces playing in the background, because the dialogue isolated is so fucking corny.
Yeah. And, like,
parentheses complimentary.
Listen, like, we are big anime fans. We are here for melodrama. But you do have to kind of know what you're getting into, ahead of time.
I did go see Fast 9 in theaters with my little brother, who is a teenager, and we came out of there, and I was like vibrating. I was like, that was amazing, because I'm 30 and I have real problems, and so I like to go into a theater and smooth brain. Mm-hmm. And my teenage little brother goes, I mean, like, it was really fun, but the plot was just, like, too convenient.
Yes, that
That's
is the point, my
that's
friend,
the point,
my young friend.
my little man.
Yeah. Listen, once you become once you hit 22, you'll understand that sometimes it's nice for things to be convenient.
Sometimes it's nice when Vin Diesel definitely planned to flip that truck so it hits a plane out of the air. That's definitely a calculation he was able to make in the moment.
I forgot to mention the stunt where they take a cable that's hanging from a bridge, Michelle Rodriguez and Vin Diesel, and they drive the Charger, and they hook it to the cable, and they do a Tarzan maneuver where they just kind of swing they swing the car to the other side of the bridge. That doesn't already kind of set the tone for the film that you're watching? Like, come on, bro.
Or what about Dominic? So as Jacob is falling off of the armored truck, Dom turns on the magnet, off the magnet, flings a car for Jacob to bounce off of, to bounce onto the truck that Mia is driving so she can pull him into a car they have magneted to the ass of that truck for him to get away.
Yeah, there's a line in here where, like, Tej is talking about how, like, we've got to obey the laws of physics or something. It's like, no, sir, we've left that behind so many films ago.
No,
you don't know what you're talking about.
Not for a fucking second.
But yeah, it is a fun time all around. Anything else about Cypher?
No, I think it's time to get into our honorable mentions. Queenie!
Listen, Helen Mirren steals the show. She's only in it for 3 minutes, but she does a great job. She's just kind of hamming it up the whole time, just being very British. And then at the very end, she's like, hey, Dom, don't die. You're my favorite American.
And the other iconic line is Dom's like, my thieving days are behind me. And she goes, mine ain't.
So good. She's great. How do you feel about Otto?
I love that his war suit that he wears on that armored truck, like his bulletproof suit, has his name in onyx emblazoned on his fucking pocket flap. He's just an obnoxious little spoiled brat. I love him. I think he's fantastic. Speaking of great performances.
Oh yeah, no, he delivers. He's just his whole thing is that his dad is a dictator. So he's a huge asshole. And then at the very end when he turns on Jacob, Jacob's like, hey, you're a fucking spoiled rich prick. And he says in an incredible comeback, spoiled rich pricks rule the world. Which hell yeah, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. And he's so convinced of his own horseshit that you believe him. Just incredible. We have our I truly did not recognize Sean until I was reading your notes.
Me either. I think it was, I don't know if it was the hair is different or just the fact that it's been, what,
6 movies.
So Fast and Furious came out in 2004, right?
Oh, one.
That was the first Fast and Furious. I mean, Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, it's 2004.
That's 2004. So that's this came out in 2021. So it's been, doing
17
some math,
years. 17 years.
Yes, you're right. 17 years. So he does look quite a bit different. They do make fun of him. They're like, man, you'd be working at Jiffy Lube if it wasn't for me. Which is he does extremely look like a guy you'd have your car serviced by at Jiffy Lube.
He absolutely looks like one of my mechanics. I loved it. I love him and his thick little southern accent that's in there. I love that he's just putting rockets onto cars. They look like they're having a great time. What a wonderful cameo.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I was wondering, I was why are they paying so much attention to this weird Southern guy? And then I was like, oh, it's because he was important once. Nice. I'm glad that they got him back in there because he does a great job for what he's given.
Absolutely. And then of course, my queen and yours,
Cardi B, who does I think have a song on the soundtrack. So
she fucking better.
Yeah. It's just wild that the backstory for her being involved is that Queenie, Dom hooked her up with Queenie, and then Queenie, was her mentor, and then Cardi was able to, or Leyla, I guess is her character name, was able to, assemble this entire team of women assassins, which is just really fun.
And she's, plot important because she hands Dom Jacob's gun with his biometrics so they can track him.
So good. So good.
Incredible cameo. Now, listen, is Cardi B an actress? No. Is her line delivery always on? No. But when Cardi B, you can tell when Cardi B is saying something that she wouldn't normally say, and then when Cardi B is just being Cardi B. There's a couple of lines that are not things she would normally say, like the when she's handing over the gun. But when she's talking about like, Queenie treated me like a princessa, I was like, that's Cardi. That's just Cardi talking.
Yes. Yeah. Like all the shit about biometrics is like, I don't think that doesn't feel real, but that's also because I know how your rap songs go, ma'am.
Yeah. So incredible cameo. God, it's just, I love these. I love this film. I really do. I think it's fantastic.
It's really good. And one of the things that I think is great about this franchise is it is starting to like, it knows what it is, but also it does not want to break the fiction, right? Like, so one of these things, as we move into our talking points about Roman, after the thing with the landmine, he starts explaining to Tej and Ramsey that he believes that he's immortal, and he starts listing out the reasons, right? He says like, okay, first, he shows them his jacket, because at one point he was surrounded by members of the Guatemalan military, like just in a big circle, and they were shooting at him. And he's like, this jacket has bullet holes in it. And look at me. Not a scratch on me. And then, like, think about all the adventures we've been going on. We've dealt with nuclear bombs, we've dealt with tanks, we've dealt with airplanes. I'm not even going to mention the submarine. Everything keeps happening. It's super weird, and we always come out of it alive and unharmed. Isn't that weird? And then, Tej is like, oh, that's so true, man. Thinking about all the statistics, all the anomalies, the probability of that. Maybe we are immortal, or maybe you're just a dipshit. Just like they will not break the fiction of the film. They'll allow Roman to like kind of become like aware of his own importance in the meta narrative, but like they still want to keep it. They're not going full like commenting on the fact that they're getting in increasingly absurd situations, or well they do, but also they give that to the fool character, and it's really good.
Yeah, it really does a good job of staying away from like Whedonisms. There
is a one that just happened. I'll go look for my notes. Let me go find that real quick.
There was one that just happened, but other than like for the most part, I think these movies traffic in earnestness in a really good way. But I think it is they do kind of have to acknowledge that like they're in an action movie,
Yeah. So after the Tarzan sequence, Michelle Rodriguez and Dom Toretto land, and then she says, "Well, that was new," which is kind of annoying. But other than that, like that's the thing. Like they're willing to acknowledge in some ways, like, hey, we're going into very silly stuff, but the vast majority of the time they're just kind of rolling with it because like they know they're badasses and they can warp physics and go into space and everything. Like, and I really truly believe like between like the characters becoming aware of the tropes that they are and the situations they're in, and all the increasing cameos in weird situations, and we've talked about how these films are soap operas in many ways, but like I think they're also kind of becoming fan fiction of themselves, where it's just like, oh, what if Dom Toretto had a secret brother who was me, he was angsty, but also was able to help out at the end. Like I really like that, between all the and he was working with Cardi B the whole time.
It's a soap opera and a shonen, and it's got cameos. It's truly everything. It's also, listen, we dipped into rom-com territory in Hobbs and Shaw. These movies do everything.
Oh God, I forgot how much of Hobbs and Shaw was just a rom-com.
It's just a rom-com is the thing. I'm so excited. So I think if I remember correctly, basically 10 and 11, I think are the last two movies, at least of the main series. So I read a little article where Vin Diesel was like, 10 feels like the beginning of the end that's been planned for like a really long time. So I just like, 10's gonna be a lot. I cannot imagine 11 is going to be God's most expensive film. James Cameron, step aside.
James Cameron will never admit to anybody having done anything more important than whatever he's doing at that moment, to be fair. But that's a James Cameron problem.
Listen, I wish every artist and creator I know a very James Cameron's confidence.
Same. But yeah, I wonder if 10 is just going to be like the end of the Cypher trilogy. And then 11 is just going to be like the family.
You know the rule. 11 Cypher joins the family.
Oh, that's right.
It takes two movies for villains to turn around in this fucking franchise.
That's so true, right? No, so 10 will be they defeat Cypher. 11, they'll go up against one last thing that seems like they're going to split the family, and then they'll bring in Cypher.
And then she's the Deus Ex, yeah.
Yeah, and then... Oh, God, I cannot wait. That's going to be a 3-hour film.
And good.
Deservedly so.
I would watch. Yes. If you're going to sit me, listen, I sat through Robert Pattinson's Batman on a plane, which, by the way, like that movie a lot. It was pretty good. I would cut 20 minutes from it, though. I really would. Fast 11, I have a hard time imagining that it won't be worth every fucking second.
There better be like a 20-minute slice of life segment where we just get Tej and Roman and Ramsey all like at their weird like bed and breakfast / computer cafe / garage, just like all kind of hanging out and you know just want to like see where they ended up. I want the thing at the end of an RPG where you get where every one of the NPCs you've ever met like ended up. I want that just to be the credits,
like the end of a Diana Wynne-Jones novel.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's God. I just it's gonna be incredible. I want Justin Lin to be a cameo. See, like if we're being real,
100%.
I want the man himself. I want him in there.
Yes.
Flipping a car.
So good news though. We are directing Fast 11.
Right.
Yeah, Justin actually reached out to us and said he liked the stuff we're doing here on Mortified and really thought we could spice up the franchise. But we have kind of a problem. So
we do.
If franchises have this thing, right, where if you start getting a certain number of movies, you have to go to space. And for this one, it was 10. It was 10 movies. And now they're in space. And we kind of have a problem of escalation, right? How do we get beyond space? Because, like, I feel like the only alternatives are time travel or you do the Digimon thing and you go into the internet. And, like, what else is there? How can we escalate this?
So I think we can look at the scope of conflict in the Fast franchise, right? We have, usually it's like man versus man conflict, right?
Correct.
One person wants something else. Fast 9 had a lot of man versus self. Had a lot of Vin Diesel reflecting in a dream sequence that was either a memory or a dream, hard to tell because he was getting like new information from his own memories. Wild. You know what that leaves us with? Man versus nature.
Climate change. The biggest boss of them all.
The final frontier. Either that or an asteroid.
That's pretty good. I mean, wasn't Vin Diesel's one of his first big movies Armageddon? Or that might not be Vin Diesel. I think it's probably a different I think it's Bruce Willis is who I'm thinking of. Different bald actor.
A different bald hunk.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, as much as I want a fucking Fast and Furious franchise that takes place in like the downfall of the Carthaginian Empire, I think that would be great. But we already did the thing where they fight evil versions of themselves. There's already online. I wonder if we could change the medium. Maybe they're not racing. Maybe they're not doing cars anymore. Maybe it's all. We've already done space. Is it just boats? Is it a boat-themed Fast and Furious one?
Oh, we do not have enough boat sequences.
More boats and planes, perhaps.
Oh
or
my
trains.
God. Wait.
What? What's going on?
Okay, boats. You're on the right track.
Okay.
Global warming, also on the right track.
Ah.
They have to take the boats through some of the new passageways opened up by the fucking ice caps, and a lot of the other set pieces are them racing cars over the fucking ice caps.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
Fast and Furious 11, Vin Diesel versus Santa Claus.
But with our $100 billion budget, who are the cameos that we're going to get in here? Who's going to be the villain melting the ice caps? Who's going to be the person driving the snowmobile?
Okay, I've already pitched Lucy Liu, Michelle Yeoh. Those are
Yes, excellent. Yeah, 100% already in the bag.
already in the bag. I think also, give me a Megan Thee Stallion.
Excellent choice.
Thank you. I would also love a Carly Rae Jepsen.
That would be good.
That would be good. And last but not least, Steve Irwin's son.
That would kind of rule, actually. Maybe he's like their animal expert that helps them defeat the polar bears.
Give me Robert Clarence Irwin in a Fast and Furious movie. That little boy is the sweetest. Put him in. I need the world to know. Maybe he'll teach me an animal fact. What about you? Who are your dream cameos?
You know, this is maybe be a controversial opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need Barack Obama. I don't agree with all the man's politics, but I think he would be an important cameo.
Okay, can I one up? You know who would actually be better than Barry? Michelle.
That's actually the correct answer.
I think we put a Michelle in there. Either that or missed opportunity to have Sasha be one of Cardi B's assassins.
Yes, 100%. That would be sick, actually. Oh, God.
Oh, maybe Fast and Furious 11 is just about Hunter Biden's laptop.
We can't. Nope. End the podcast. Layla, where can we be found on the internet?
Just to be clear, listeners, that was a joke. You can find me at LEYLSCS on, I guess, co-host. I'm gonna be really non-committal about my social media plugs until I find out what's going on with Twitter. Technically, I'm still on Twitter. I'm always on Tumblr. I've been on Tumblr since, as we discussed, 2008. I'm currently just playing Divinity 2 Original Sin. So I'm not posting much. I'm just kind of playing a video game for the first time in a long time. Aaron, where can you be found?
I'm at Twitter and co-host at AaronSXL, on Instagram and Mastodon at AAVoit, and Tumblr, which is actually the most important one, at Monster Factory Fanfic. And I have a YouTube channel that's also at AAVoit. Which I'll probably have one more video out about the Dicebreaker Rising Stars if you're interested in tabletop news coverage. But, other than that, I am mostly just trying to get through the end of the year so me and Layla can prepare. I mean, I guess our next episode is going to be our last episode of the year.
Our next episode is our last episode of the year. We are going to watch the Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie. We're very excited.
Oh, should we do a bracket again?
I mean, it's tradish.
Yeah, we can do a quick bracket. Maybe I'll make it a shorter one, but
yeah,
I'll rig up a bracket.
A shorter bracket. So yes, next episode's our last episode of the year, and then we're taking 2 weeks off as per huge to just rest and do stuff. And then for New Year's, we're gonna hang out in the meat space together. I'm gonna go see Aaron.
And we're gonna go see Pandora.
We're gonna go see Avatar 2: Way of the Water in theaters together.
Christ.
I'm apologies ahead of time to Aaron's wife because we are going to be insufferable.
Yeah, she already knows.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, so
that's our show. Layla, our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. You can find more of our music their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Layla, how do we want to close out this episode?
Hey buddy, why do you look like a minion?
We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Good Lord.